Okay, now let's take a simple thing, or in line with what you were referring to, the research that these epigenetic traumas really they are there. Of course, they are there. Those who perpetrate this trauma know that they are there. And when they were taking away Africans from Africa who were going to be enslaved, they have to maltreat them on the way. They have to rape them a lot. Both men and women were raped. Of course, I'm not saying all, but these are messages, these are signals, these are not mistakes, these are deliberate attempts to send a message to their DNA. These messages live for generations and generations.
Yeah.
This deliberate brutalization of a certain group of people is not a mistake. The other day we were talking about the death of Steve Biko. We said, okay, first of all, Steve Biko was not really a militant in the sense that he didn't have any gun. He was not shooting at the police. But look at how they killed him. Now, Steve Biko was talking about the dignity of the African people. That was the key message. The respect of the African people. We can all live together, but you need to respect me as I respect you. Don't dehumanize me. Now, guess how they killed him? They killed him dehumanized. This is to say, this too is not a mistake. For the fact that Steve Biko was not wearing clothes when he died is not a mistake. This is a message.
Yeah.
You see, all these things are happening. It's not random. They have studied it. They have known that the punishment that they are giving to us, they are not giving to us just for now, but they want to send a message back so that it remains with us. So that this epic genetic trauma is a deliberate, they know that it's going to work. That is why they are doing it. They are carrying out this violence because they have studied it, knowing that it is going to work. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. They don't make me. These guys are intelligent. Those that run the system, even those that perpetrate the Ku Klux Klan, the hanging of people on the trees, all these things have been studied. They didn't make any mistake. All right, that is just for that in terms of the research that all these are proving. They know what they are doing. The trauma that the policeman need to sit on top of a person until the person dies is not a mistake. He's not a baby. He is a trained police officer. He knows what he's doing. If he doesn't know what he's doing, he should not be receiving salary. They undergo check.
Well,
please go.
Well, as you say that, I would say this. The acts of the dehumanizing acts that have been done to Blacks of African descent have been so heinous, have been so harsh, have been so abusive, and have been just so inhumane that, and Asa G. Hilliard, the beloved ancestor Asa G. Hilliard, speaks about this in his work, in his writings, and in his research. You have to almost dehumanize and miscategorize and mislabel somebody to then treat them in this way, because it's almost so heavy of a violent act and a way that you're dealing with the person to not almost creates the dissonance, if that makes sense. So if I do wrong to a person, it's going to make me feel a little bit better to say, well, they're not a human, they're subhuman, they're beneath humanity, I'm going to dehumanize them, so that can justify why I am giving the mistreatment. They're an animal, they're attacking me, they're competition, they're a threat, they're dangerous, they're not safe to be around. So that's why I can over police their community. That's why I can pull them over on the side of the road and brutalize them and arrest them if I don't have the proper justification to. That's why I can lock them up into prison. That's why I can push forth the discriminatory, uh, negative stereotypes in the educational setting. And so, I believe that is what we see play out in many instances. And so, I definitely see what you're saying. Um, there's a lot of intentionality behind what is happening and what is going on, and with my students, with my uh, educators, those who I consult with my business, History Heals Consulting, historyhealsconsulting.com, for those who want to see what I offer and the supports that I give. I oftentimes say the system is going to be the system. Those who are uh, controlling the game board and those who were overseeing the structure, they're going to do what they're going to do. But what can we do within our control and within our capacity to show our agency and to impact and influence outcomes in a healthy way? And I believe there's a lot of things that we can do. And I think that also comes full circle with how we look at history. When we look at history, a lot of times the narrative is from a passive, victimized type of state. We were just beaten, we were whipped, we were brutalized, we were hung, we were lynched, we were raped. And yes, these things happen. But as we grapple with history and as we have a more critical assessment of what happened in the past, it's also important to know that there is a thing of called Black joy, and that there were relationships that they had. They did try to carve out educational spaces to teach themselves. They did have cultural values and rituals. They were thinkers, and they did resist, and they did push back, and they did escape, and they did in clever ways uh, uh, confuse the slave owner. So it's important to also speak to that as well too, because if we don't, then we'll just perpetuate giving uh, the status quo the power to say, well, we did nothing. We were just passive victims. And I would say that that's not the case. But we have to once again look into history and recover what has happened to know, well, we did have victories. The Haitian Revolution was a victory. The Harlem Renaissance was a victory. The Negritude movement was a victory. The activism and the things that happened in South Africa, those things were victories. We can look at Marcus Garvey and what it was that through the channels of Garveyism, and August is his birthday month. So also special shout out to the ancestor Marcus Garvey. These are victories. There were more uprisings and revolts than we can imagine. Black folks have been music people. We've been writers. We've been thinkers. We've been intellectuals. We have been movers and shakers. We have been trailblazers. We have been doing all of those things. And it's important to also bring that into the story. So we're not romanticizing, we're not polarizing, but we're humanizing. We can talk about slavery. We can talk about how we've been persecuted, how we've been decimated, how we have been racially profiled, how we've been victims of all of that stuff. But we also can create space to talk about the fact that, okay, well, these are the traditions that were passed down in my family that are important to me. Even though I was going through this harsh situation, we made music and we cooked food, and these were our rituals of how we came together. These were the spiritual practices that we implemented. This is how we healed each other when we got sick. It's important to speak to all of that if we want to say that history is rich. We can't just look at history when it makes us feel good. or when it's blaming somebody else. If we want to really have a critical, rich, robust understanding of history, you have to look at it all. And that's what I suggest.
Thank you so much, dear Marcus. This also is very powerful.